Okay, so there's this country, best country on the planet, has a penis. Okay, it's a wonky looking penis, but it's there, and it goes something like this. Okay, it has a penis, so therefore it must have a hand. Perfect. That is exactly how this country looks. There we go, something like that. I like to think this part doesn't exist, but that's for another video. Why does the penis have a lump? It's more like this, something like that. Now, there is this guy. This guy is Charles Nate Nibbleton. I'm gonna call him CNN for short. Y'all can't. Can you even see that? Jesus Christ. Let me enhance here a little bit. There we go. There's Charles. I'll call him CNN for short. Charles has this big old hammer. There's this other guy. He's got a big old hammer too. His name is Frederick Oliver Xavier. Let's call him Fox for short. No real reason to do that, but you know, no real reason to have him on the left and right side either. We got this other guy. All these guys, they have hammers. They really invested in hammers a lot. We'll call this guy Chester Bouillon Smith. Just, you know, we'll shorten it to CBS. We got a lady here. She's got a hammer too. That's how you know it's a lady. There we go. This is Nancy. Nancy Yasmin. I'm going to stop doing this. Jesus Christ. NYT, New York Times. Y'all know what the hell I'm doing here. She's on the wrong side, but whatever. She's got a hammer. There's a bunch more. There's another one. No, WSJ. Wall Street Journal. There's another one. MSNBC. Another one. ABC. I'm not going to draw a person. Another one. Washington Post. You get my point. Mainstream media, right? And these motherfuckers. There's this big old wedge. Big old wedge. And they are just hammering it into the fucking country relentlessly. This wedge. This fucking wedge that they get on. Is this recording? It is. That they get on every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, relentlessly, and just like a bunch of goddamn mountain dwarves, like a bunch of relentless mountain dwarves, they just hammer and hammer and hammer it into the goddamn country. How do we solve this? Because we are part of the problem. This problem is akin to pollution and blaming British Petroleum for it. No, we are consuming this. We are asking for this. This sells almost as good as sex. So, how do we stop these cunts from hammering away at this damn wedge? And we obviously have a role to play in fostering that. So just to define the problem a little bit more, what I put here. So at the core of it, it seems all they do, mainstream media, all they do is bring to the forefront divisive issues, right? Not saying anything groundbreaking here, but let's just kind of spell things out. Divisive issues that are engaging, that cause anger, and it is always put in a form of us versus them. It's always a case of othering, the other side. And the thing is, if you're in a country where, or even if you're in a fucking house with your family and all you talk about is the things that differentiate you as a family, you're not going to want to fucking live together. So that's what they're cashing in on. It's like you got to have some of that. You got to discuss the problems, the disagreements, but they can't be the only thing. You can't just breathe nitrogen. You need to breathe air that has some oxygen in it. You got to balance things out. When it comes to discussing differences and these issues that that the mainstream media keeps bringing up, majority of them you can compromise on. Some, though, abortion, there isn't really a compromise. So, for example, so I don't want to make this an abortion video. I'll make a whole separate one for that. But in general, my stance is life starts at conception. The baby, is separate from the mother. We're not talking about the mother's nail or finger or something like that. It's a whole separate human being. The life is human. The life is innocent. So just by definition, abortion is murder. No way around that. It's not a belief. I'm not saying I believe the sun is bright. Motherfucker, the sun is bright. Okay? So, as far as I'm concerned, it's murder, which means no exceptions. Except for where the mother's life is in danger. And in that instance, it's like self-defense. The baby's gonna kill you. That's just what it is. It's a tragic case of self-defense, and I cannot fathom making that decision. But that's kind of the only instance where it's not just murder, it's self-defense, and that is perfectly acceptable. So, and I know I watched Kyle Kulinski, and he mentions how there's some states where even that is kind of out of the question, which I think is nuts, where they're like, oh, the mother's life has to be in imminent danger. Bro, if the doctor walks up to you and says, hey, 3 months from now, the baby's going to go from this to this, and when this happens, your heart's going to explode. Or whatever the hell happens, I don't know. We don't need to wait for the heart to be just seconds away from exploding to, save the mother's life if that's what she wants. We can predict things, for Christ's sake. So let's not, that's my stance. Like I said, it's not an abortion thing. So there's no compromise on that. If it's murder, like I don't like what Trump said as far as, but he's a politician. He knows the game way better than I'll ever know it. Where he said like, oh, let the states decide. Let the states decide whether murder is okay. What are you talking about, dude? But what I'm gonna say now kind of jives along the same lines. We're trying to eat an elephant here when it comes to nipping this corruption in the bud. So my solution is, especially if I'm running in Colorado for governor and I come out and say, nope, no abortion. Yeah, good luck. So that's my official stance. And what I would do about it if I were to get elected governor is nothing. I would not touch any legislation that even has the words in it. I don't care if it makes it harder to get an abortion, if it makes it easier, if it extends the time frame, if it makes it... I will not touch it with a 10-foot pole. And the reason is I have too many other goddamn fights to fight to be fighting the fights of other people. And I am fighting the fights of other people, but you gotta prioritize. You gotta eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So I think that's kind of the most realistic. I disagree with you on something that there is no compromise on. But here is kind of the patch, because we're both fighting for something bigger than that even, which is kind of crazy to think about. But the reality is abortion doesn't affect me. Abortion doesn't affect my kids. Abortion doesn't affect my wife. Abortion does not affect us. So I need to fight the battles that affect me at the very least. Then I need to fight the battles that affect others in a manner that's prioritized. And abortion is just not that high on the list, unfortunately, and that may change. But it's an elephant, people. We gotta start somewhere. We gotta do the things that affect us the most directly first. So another example of something where they're making it a them versus us thing is